that time. Hi, I'm Engin. I'm CTO of Gram Games. I joined the company near like 3 years ago. We have started really small, but right now we are getting bigger. So I just want to talk about how we iterate our development pipeline as we grow our company. So we are around 90 people right now. When I joined the company, we were around maybe 15, 16. We used to have only 10 on production, on live and merged in production, nothing else. And we were just making our games during our prototyping days and everything mostly, and then trying to find the best game that we can develop. Right now we have two offices. One is in Istanbul, one is in London. Like I said, we are around 90 people. And now we have like nine live titles, 10 merge, 6 Bouncy, merge farm, paint tower, and merge gems and town are the ad monetized small puzzle games that we have. And Merge Dragons is the more bigger in-app purchase monetized game, which we work here in London. Basically, the biggest process, the root of the process is like having an idea and convincing the company that, like the developers or the designers or artists, to gather around that idea and then test that idea as quickly as possible in production. This is the basic steps that we try to do. And this is the prototyping steps that we mostly have. We are coming with an idea in prototyping days. We mostly do prototyping days. We were used to do that every Friday. Right now we changed a little bit, sorry. Right now what we are doing is we are pitching an idea on Friday and saying that, okay, I have this idea and I want to develop this, and asking for developers and artists and designers to join your team. Like we are gathering an ad hoc team, not predefined teams that are working at that. And we were doing this 2 Fridays. The first Friday was just implementing the core gameplay, and the next Friday is polishing and making stuff and try to release it at that night. But the rule was you have to have something playable on the first Friday and you have to have something releasable on the next Friday. If you cannot release it. And then we release the game and try to gather the data to check if the game is working or not. There are some benchmarks that we have, like if we find something like 40 or 45% day one retention, it feels like this game could work, or much higher, it will be much better for us. And then we sit down and decide if the game is good. We should be continuing the production or icebox or kill the game. So this is the basic process. It was like this. We evolved this process to have a prototyping whole week during a month. And we are just stopping for 5 days, nothing doing for production, and just focusing on our prototypes, trying to find an idea and do whatever we can find and try to polish the games as much as we can to see the numbers. But the aim is like having the core gameplays there, not the polishing part is not important, but the core gameplays should be there. How we iterate that prototyping thing to our production is like, it's the same thing. Like we are coming with an idea time to time, and most of the time we are getting our ideas from our prototyping days. Like most of our monetized games ideas came from our prototypes. And we gather a team, minimum team is like 1 developer, 1 artist, 1 designer, 1 product manager. We start like this. We mostly end up with this team for monetized games, but for bigger games we are adding more developers or more designers. We focus on having a playable within 1 week. Like in 1 week, you should be having a core gameplay and showing to everybody around. And we are iterating over that core gameplay and try to make sure that we have something releasable after 2 weeks, 2 to 4 weeks. And after that, we release the game as in soft, like we call it fake launch, but it's something like soft launch under another company name. And then we just gather the data, and then we try to decide what we should be doing. If the game is working well, if we can, the retention is going high, or the small monetization things that we check is working fine, we are going back to 4 and just iterate over more in 1 or 2 or 4 weeks, and then just release it again. Or if it's not going to work, we are just killing the game. So this is the thing that we do really good. We are not attaching that much to the games that we develop during the soft launch phase. If we feel like it's not working, we are just killing it. So that's the good part, I think. And this is the basic development timelines that we have. For small casual games, we mostly spend like 2 to 3 weeks till soft launch. Then we just do 1 week iterations, like sprints until we make the game ready. And for bigger games like Merge Dragons, we do a little bit longer sprints. We just focus on how we can implement the feature that we want to do, but we decide what feature is going to be in that sprint, but mostly it's like 1 feature per sprint. And we are just releasing after that sprint. We are not waiting for multiple sprints to release, so that's the important part. And to make sure that for the development side, we just focus on we have the right tools there working for us. Since the beginning of the company, data is really important. I think the data framework that we have is the second product that we had in the company after 1010. We had implemented our own analytics system on the back end. We were lucky to have like a really good back-end guys back then. And we just implemented our SDK analytics, and we didn't want to start with a third party. We start with third party, but we just want to move to our data to our data warehouse to make sure that our BI people can play on it really well. And we try to make sure that our teams, like the BI teams or the other teams, are capable of developing their own tools and working with the data or something else really well. So we are training non-developer people in the company to do their own stuff, for example, mostly coming from BI side. And this is not a tool, but we try to make sure that everybody is speaking the same language, because as you can see, we just switch from projects to projects time to time. So the people should be able to move from project to project and not feel like they are in a new place. So we have the common development languages, or just how we develop, how we name our variables or something like that. Stuff like this, the stuff we talk, and for example, the KPIs and everything, it's all commonly decided, like everybody was talking the same thing. So we try to make sure that everybody is speaking the same thing. And then we move to core frameworks that we have. We just want to make sure that game development teams must be focusing on the game development and not focusing on just integrating SDKs or integrating A/B test systems and anything into the system. So for that, we implemented a package dependency system, which is a fork of Composer and packaging system from PHP, which we just make sure that are all SDKs and everything in there, and every game has a dependency JSON file. And after that, after people add the frameworks that they need, for example, if a game does not need an A/B test, they shouldn't be putting the A/B test framework there. So they're just fetching it from the dependency, like the repository. And this is working really well for us because it makes the game teams focus on really on the gameplay and the core gameplay. Before that, it was really painful for people just put the SDKs and everything is just clashing together. So we just focus on this one, make sure that game teams shouldn't be focusing on this. And the same thing for the integration layer. As you can see, we have lots of ad networks and everything in the games. So we try to make sure that all these SDKs are coming from our dependency system. So the people shouldn't be thinking about if one SDK is clashing with the other one, if one is not working for Android or iOS. It's being tested and put into the repository by a team that we have in the system, we have in the company. And after that, we just focus on the systems to implement. For example, we implemented our A/B test system with talking to production people, listening their requirements, because most of the common A/B test tools are too generic for us. We're asking some special things, so we just wanted to implement this stuff. And we implemented some cloud save social stuff to Merge Dragons, for example. We have in-app purchase validation and segmentation. These systems are all implemented in Go. We choose Go because it was really important. The performance is really important, and the concurrency is really important for us because we are having multiple millions of DAU every day. So we just focus the concurrency and the performance there. Go helped us really well because with a small effort, you can have really performing well applications and the binary that you can deploy anywhere. It made us scale easily, that because we were just deploying our application somewhere. Whenever we need, for example, more HTTP servers for analytics system. We are just adding it easily, so it makes us work really easy. And it's really, the Go is working really well for us, and we are using Python for integration layer. We are just using Python to parse the reports and everything. It's much working really well. Like the summary, with the teams in the company are really working individually. They are just using tools that I showed before, but the core gameplay is totally implemented by the team, and there is no rule coming from top side saying that, okay, you should be implementing like this. They should be keeping the common language there. Other than that, the teams are okay to use whatever you use. For example, we use a entity component system called Entitas in some of our games, and some of our games are not using it, making the Unity way. Some of the teams are deciding to test the new Unity ECS system. So this is all team's decision. We have a common framework of development philosophy out there to make sure that we can switch people around to projects and everything. So if we need people from Istanbul office to help us in London office, they should be easily talking to the team. So we just wanted to train people on that side. We cleared all the noisy non-gaming tasks from the game teams, like the SDK integration, or how can I say, like the designs coming out of it. So the development teams should be only focusing on development, nothing else. And the maintenance is all about like a global tasking gram games. Everybody's doing the maintenance. There is no maintenance team out there. We are switching people around the live game, the live operations. And the good thing is like we are letting people come up with ideas and gather around people and just try them. So we are not limiting. If somebody has a better idea, while working on something, they can come out and say that, okay, I have a better idea, I just want to test this. It's possible to do that in the company. And all this stuff that we did is letting people to do this. And we removed all the burden from teams' shoulders, the killing the game, because whenever you kill a game, it's all like killing, like people don't want to do that, but we made sure that it's not a bad thing for people to kill a game. If you can decide this as early as possible, that's much better for the teams. So they don't feel like they are going to be like blamed of killing a game or something like that. And because we released the games really early stage, that I'm not sure if you play any of our soft launch games, but we start with really small core gameplay where we end up like a huge camp merging and battling systems and everything. So we change all the meta or the art or everything. We just try to test the ideas on users, not whatever we play in the company. Yeah, it's an idea, but other than that, we try to do that on players. And the good thing that, like I said, the analytics system that we have, we just see how they are behaving to the new changes. And we constantly iterate our system. The good thing should be in the process is like you should be ready to iterate with the business requirements and everything. We try to do that. Like in development, it's a little bit hard to do this time to time because you have to be predictable and you have to be expecting something like the near future should be visible. But time to time it's not. So we are just constantly iterating our process to be ready for this kind of stuff. And this is the basic thing that we do, like reviewing the process, evolving and iterate, reviewing the process and evolving, iterate. And this is the main thing that we did since we begin. Like I said, we begin with 10.10 only, then we implemented 6. We decided to have a prototyping framework because we saw that people cannot integrate stuff into the game really easily. So we started to have a prototyping framework. Then we saw that people is really spending too much time implementing UI into their games in prototype. So we added some UI components in the prototyping template and everything. And we saw that prototyping is working really well. The production is going really slow. So we switched our whole production to prototyping level implementation time to time. So then we saw that the prototyping days are not working really well. We just switched to prototyping. So it should be an iterative thing. We tried not to stick to a process too long and not to say that, okay, we cannot do this because our process is requiring this one, but we just wanted to evolve our process. So basically, this is the thing that we do. So if you have any questions or something like that, thank you. Yeah.
During your play launch, what countries do you choose for user acquisition, and how many users do you need to check fast if the game performs well?
It depends on the game. Most of the time, our UA team is deciding which countries to release, but mostly it's one of them is Canada, is one of them is Singapore. Mostly they are there, but the other countries are being like really depending of the type of the game that we try. We tried around, I think, more than 200 prototypes until now. So our UA team has a perception of which countries are performing, giving out better data with a type of game. So they are just deciding on that one. Again, the number of players are just dependent on the game. If the game is a little bit like content heavy, so time to time we require more people to see if the retention is going better on day 7 or more. But if it's a puzzle game, it's around like 2,000, 3,000 people is enough time to time.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
In the tooling section, data analytics, you
Yeah.
mentioned in-app purchase validation,
Yeah.
segmentation. I just wanted to clarify segmentation. Does that mean you're grouping players sort of as different profiles to give a different experience, different monetization options based on their player habits?
Yeah, mostly for monetization options right now. We didn't focus on the gameplay side right now, but we give like some offers to the players that they haven't paid yet, but they feel like they are playing the game, just spending, feel like they are going to spend. So we are just segmenting these users, or we are segmenting the high spending users, or giving out better options to them. So it's mostly segmenting those kind of monetization features right now, but we are thinking to move more about gameplay features, maybe to test if the game feature is working with the live players also.